Hey everybody, welcome. It is Friday, May 29th, 2020. Appreciate you joining me here. My name is JJ. You're watching Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. Well, we continue to watch the stock market hold steady and continue to make gains. As I'm recording this about an hour from close today on Friday, we're in the green in all major indexes. Gold slightly up, oil slightly up. As the world is falling apart now, we are about 7,000 points on the Dow Jones off of those mid-March lows. So a 7,000 point recovery in the Dow Jones Industrial Index amidst a financial crisis where we see unemployment and we see businesses closing and possibly half of those businesses not going to ever reopen. We still have a 7,000 point recovery in the Dow Jones. Simply an amazing time. The manipulation is so obvious now that I don't know how anyone can even question this market. It's completely manipulated, and what I'd say 99% of the population still doesn't realize is that this money, this currency that's used to keep this market, to keep this economy from imploding, it's all created out of nothing. Most people don't realize that. The people that are here on this channel are probably the 1% of the population that does realize this, and there's other channels too talking about this, but mainstream, this is not mainstream news. This is not common knowledge. Most people believe that the money still means something, that it's still backed by something. Yes, you could say it's backed by the military, it's backed by confidence, it's backed by oil, but ultimately it's never ending. They can create it out of nothing, but yet they're still going to take your home if you miss that mortgage payment, unless you're on some sort of forbearance, which we're seeing a lot of forbearance now. We're about 7 million households now in forbearance, and that number is climbing. It's likely going to be higher once we get the next update. And they're holding off the day of reckoning, and I said this would probably happen. I said they're going to try to keep this market from imploding. I said the stock market would recover. It recovered. They're going to try to create an illusion of a recovery overall economically via the stimulus, via the never-ending tools, as the Fed likes to call their arsenal of fiat currency funny money. So let's take a look at a quick article here. And this is out of CNBC. New York Fed president says U.S. is not anywhere near, quotations around anywhere near, its limits to run up debt. So that's an understatement, because anywhere near, well, what's near unlimited? There's no limit to the debt. And even Jerome Powell came out and said that in a previous statement. They're going to do whatever it takes, that's a quote, whatever it takes to keep this system propped up, to keep this zombie banking system alive, which is keeping zombie corporations alive. And the market makers, the monopoly men, the fiat currency bankers, they've also used the term unlimited. So it is unlimited, and this further acknowledges, and this quote here out of New York Fed President John Williams further acknowledges that there's a lot more the Fed can do. They have unlimited currency. So the question is, many people, why are they taking people's homes when they miss a mortgage payment? You know, why are we paying for all this spending via higher taxes? And why are tent cities popping up everywhere if they can create money out of nothing? Well, that's a good question, but see, you're not supposed to ask that question. You're supposed to look at the stock market. Are you supposed to look at your 401k, because they don't want to let the 401ks crash, because that's something that's going to give the consumers confidence. Hey, look at my 401k, look at my home equity. They're going to try their best to keep home prices from declining. That's another confidence indicator, or another big factor there. And they're just going to kick the can down the road. I don't think much longer. I think by the end of 2020, we're going to start to see them really let this system fall apart. Now, speaking of 401k, if you have a 401k and you've been saving, good for you. That's good, especially if your company matches the 401k. Now, in our previous report, we talked about how companies were cutting pay. So if they weren't laying off people, they were cutting the pay of many of the people that they did keep on the payroll. But now something else that's going to affect many of these people is that companies are dropping 401k matches. So it used to be with a lot of companies, you can put in $100, for example, and get it matched. The company would also put in $100. So essentially you were doubling your money by putting your money into 401k. The company would match whatever you put in, and that's basically 100% return, which is pretty good from an investment standpoint. If you can double your money or get 100% return, that's excellent. So now companies, in addition to the layoffs, in addition to the downsizing, the cost cutting, and cutting people's salaries, as we talked about in our previous report, now some of them are going to stop matching that 401k. So even if you kept your job, you're still not out of the woods. You still could see some very hard times coming down the road. Right? And this is why I've been saying for a long time, prepare, 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 because if you have a job today, you may not have it tomorrow. If you have savings today, you may not have it next week or next month. And a lot of people are tapping into their 401k to try to maintain during this time, whether it's a job loss or a cut in hours or a cut to their pay. Many salaries are being cut. It's a difficult time for a lot of people, so something to think about there. Now also, they're being a little more lenient on people taking out their 401ks, and if you pay it back within a certain amount of time, they're extending the time you were allowed to before you get assessed a penalty and before you pay it back. Now, in my opinion, why are they assessing any penalty? If it's your money, if it's your 401k, why penalize people for taking it out? Especially if you have a printing press that can print unlimited amounts of money. Why are any of these restrictions being put on us? And why are there people out there telling us that ultimately we are going to have to pay for this? Do we have the printing press, the working class, us people, or do the bankers have the printing presses? It's just a shame that most people don't even think twice or question the system that we're living under right now. And what I've been saying here for a long time is it's going to take a total collapse to wake a lot of people up. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of carnage when the collapse is allowed to happen. Right now, people that are not paying their mortgages, they still have a roof over their head. And I think within about 6 to 9 months, we're really going to see the pain come kicking in. I don't think the economy reopening and all those service sector jobs, people handing out ice cream or handing out coffees, or the poker dealer at the casino, I don't think those jobs coming back are really going to bring the economy back into this amazing recovery. And even if you are doing well right now, I would still be very cautious, try not to overspend, and prepare. If you have a 401k today, you may not have it tomorrow. What if it gets taken away? What if they stop handing out Social Security checks? What if they do not send out any more stimulus checks? What if the banks stop the forbearance period and they start asking for their mortgage payments again? What if they take away the restrictions on evictions? Right now in many places, in many cities, they say that landlords cannot evict the tenant even though they haven't paid rent for several months in many cases. Right? What if all the assistance just goes away one day? What if you get maybe a new official in there who wants to change things and says, hey, no more handouts? Or maybe something else happens with the financial system, something that none of us can even imagine. What if there is an outage or a system failure? Right? See, that's the problem with relying on the system. I know it's great to get stimulus checks. Everybody needs those checks now. And absolutely, I understand there's a lot of people that need those checks right now. We live in an environment where they're trying to keep asset prices inflated, but yet people's salaries are not keeping up with the inflation, and salaries are being cut, and all the job losses, people completely losing their salary. And it may seem okay right now because you don't see the tent cities popping up on your corner near your home, but it's going to happen eventually if something doesn't change. And I think our country's headed for a very, very dark period. Look to the right here, the Fed balance sheet now well over $7 trillion. It's the biggest jump we've ever seen in the Fed balance sheet, surpassing more than doubling the run-up that we saw during the financial crisis. And we're just getting started. This thing could be $10 trillion here in a few months. At this pace, we could be at $20 trillion by next year. This is absolutely unprecedented. And when this does go hyper-nuclear and the world starts panicking out of the dollar, be ready. It's going to get chaotic. Also, the Paycheck Protection Program and the small business loans weren't that successful. A survey shows that almost half of small business owners are going to have to shut their doors for good. So you may see some businesses opening up, and there's been a lot in the news about the businesses that are opening up, some of them to not much success. In many areas, there's still a lot of restrictions and red tape for health reasons that these companies are trying to do But in the meantime, we've seen the huge retailers, the Targets, the Wal-Marts, the Home Depots, double their business here since the shutdown. So this is another wealth transfer from the little guy up to the multi-billion multinational corporations. And speaking of large corporations getting bigger and increasing their profits during this time, Walmart is now selling used clothes in the latest attempt to become a fashion retailer. And this is out of courts. Walmart is teaming up with a online used clothing resale company. And think about all the small businesses that sell used clothes. Even the thrift stores are closed in a lot of states. They're considered non-essential. Are they going to open back up? Are the Goodwills, are the Salvation Armies going to open back up? If not, what's going to happen to all those workers, all those people that are employed at those places? Right, there's a lot of question marks out there still, and I don't think anyone knows the answer. You see, the answer depends on how much more manipulation they're going to allow. And who knows, they could even double the unemployment benefits from here. You just never know. No one really knows. But we do know when they pull the rug out from under this thing, when they stop giving out all this help, this assistance, look out, because this is going to be a dangerous land to live in. And I just hope everyone's prepared. I hope no one is fooled. And again, I hope I am wrong. But if I am wrong, good. I hope I'm wrong. But what if I'm right? And what if millions of people are not prepared? What's your neighborhood going to look like? Do you have a backup plan? Will you have to move in with a friend, relative, or neighbor? Will relatives of yours that fall in hard times have to move in with you in order to not live in a tent city? We're headed into some very dark time, folks. I hope everyone is well during this time. Thank you so much for your support, for being here. We've got a Patreon video coming out tomorrow, so thank you for my Patreons. Please check Patreon. Within the next 24 hours, we should have that video out for you. Also, people asking what we can do. We'll try to spread the word, try to get people to pay attention to the real deal behind this financial system right now, and that's endless amounts of fiat currency that gets pushed into areas that allow the rich to thrive, but it keeps most people working their entire lives, living paycheck to paycheck, and sadly many people dying still with debt that they never paid off, just living a whole life in debt. And I don't think that's the way it should be. I think it could be a lot different if we were to find a change. But in order for anything to change, you have to wake people up, and people have to realize what type of system that we're living under. So thanks for spreading the word. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here and for your comments and your support. Hope everybody's well. See you next time. Bye for now.